The Heritage starts the morning and says 5,000 journalists, others to lose jobs over NCA action, says NDC. The finder, 2 deputy chiefs of staff never took money. A+ tells police as full investigative report is out. To go the Times says sanctions against 131 radio stations. GJ Geba wraps NCA, describes sanctions as harsh, unfortunate. The Statesman stays on the NCA story and says NCA to sanction more radio stations after initial 131. Business Day says new debt hits 16 billion cities. Daily Graphic carries the A+ story and says A+ apologizes to Jinapo Asenso-Boakye. His photograph is on the front page of the paper. My guest this morning, to my extreme left, is the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Dr. Poku Edus, a member of the NPP. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm well.
Thanks for joining us. And then to him is the founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Network, Ricky. Kasisi Ricky Pepra, good morning too. Hope you're doing great.
Morning, Bright.
You've been missing for some time. Thanks for coming today. And then a former Deputy Trade and Industry Minister, member of the NDC, former member of Parliament for the Nanton constituency, Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great. He's back with his German. I'm grateful. Thanks so much for joining us, gentlemen. Now, let's start with this story. I've seen the story captured on 3 of the newspapers. The Daily Graphic put its A+ apologizes to Jinapo Asenso-Boakye. The finder says that 2 deputy chiefs of staff never took money. Now, the finder story is based on the police, we're told, has released the full report or the full statement of the investigation that was done, and which they claim that A+ never told them that the 2 deputy chiefs of staff took money. So the finder says that A+ has categorically told the police that he never said the 2 took money from anyone. However, he arrived at the conclusion that the 2 are corrupt because he claims they extended protection and favoritism towards Unibank's operations at Kolebu in exchange for contributions towards the political campaign of the NPP in the run-up to the 2016 elections. In his statement to the police, A+ alleged that the 2 deputy chiefs of staff told him that Unibank's cancelled contract should be reversed because the bank contributed to the party's electioneering campaign, a claim the 2 deputy chiefs of staff have flatly denied in their statement to the police. So the police statement suggesting that A+ never told them that he said the 2 of them were corrupt. Daily Graphic says he has apologized to Mr. Jinapo and Mr. Asenso-Boakye for accusing them. According to the story in the Daily Graphic, A+ has rendered an apology to Mr. Samuel Abu Jinapo and Mr. Francis Asenso-Boakye for wrongly accusing them of corruption. Comrade, let me begin with you. The police has released what it says is the full report of the investigation, which clearly said that A+ did not accuse the 2 of any corruption. Can this end this whole saga?
Well, let me say good morning to my colleagues and good morning to you and, of course, your viewing public and the good people of Nanton constituency. This is a complete joke.
The report is a joke?
The so-called report is a complete joke. Both the NPP government and the police should not think that Ghanaians are a bunch of idiots. We are not. Why? An allegation has been made against the 2 deputy chiefs of staff consistently. Remember, the allegation was initially not about Kolebu. The allegation was about bribery that they were engaged in. The allegation was about the fact that people around the presidency would demand money from people for which they would allow you to see the president. That was the allegation. Now you have the same A+ who indeed put on his Facebook wall and said that dare me and I prove to you how corrupt you are. Now A+ had granted interviews consistently and maintained that his allegation is the truth and nothing but the truth. They think that they can sit around and bring people and come out to deceive the people of this country. Now you have the same A+, who indeed, I believe, leaked the audio, his conversation with the deputy director for CID.
He said he did not.
Please, but who? But who? He dared. What has happened? What has happened? He dared them that they can arrest him. For someone to doct the conversation, audio tape of a deputy director for CID, and nothing has happened. And beyond that, he dared you, if you think that I've done something, arrest me. Doctoring a recording or a tape conversation itself is a crime. And that thing was not done to any less a person than the deputy director for CID. Why? We all heard the woman. We all heard the voice. Now, if you are claiming that it was doctored, the question then is the specific statement in which he made in the audio, that they are your people. They are your people. And it shouldn't be fine to come out and look at the statement you wrote, the issue of they being thieves. You don't ask people as an investigative body or an investigator to come and change their statements. If I make an allegation, then I am given the opportunity to write my statement. The reasons why I made those allegations. You don't call me to come and change those statements. You leave me to face the consequences of my statement. That is what you do. You leave me professionally. I can understand why that lady answered slavishly to the Flagstaff House. And I have never...
That's an allegation.
Please, I'm saying that she's answering slavishly because she herself said that, look, all the allegations you have made is true, but the bit about their thieves, and that the president has a lot of good intentions, but I'm afraid he can't succeed them. When we went what we saw, and suddenly they think that we are a bunch of idiots in this country, that they will just come with those stories. You see, let's be very sincere. As far as I am concerned, at least we can limit it to the 4th Republican Constitution. We have never had a government within 1 year that series of allegations of corruption is stated against that government appointees than this within 1 year. Tell me, is it President Rawlings? Is it President Kufuor? Is it President Mills? Is it President Mahama? Within 1 year, you have series of allegations of corruption. And those allegations are not coming from anybody. It's coming from within. It's coming from within. And then they just think that they can go and sit down and come up with that story. Why? If someone has doctored a tape which involves you investigating a matter that is of tremendous concern to the people of this country, the integrity of the seat of the president, and this is on the hand. The integrity of those who work there is questioned. Now, such a person, whether he leaked the audio or he didn't, the audio came out, and subsequently he said, dare you. If you think I'm lying, come and arrest me. If you think I have done something wrong, you can go to the telecos. And I listened to the bizarre interview.
So it doesn't end the whole saga?
It doesn't. I listened to the bizarre interview the PR of the Ghana police granted to Joy FM. And it was so shocking. She said, look, the tape was doctored, but we are yet to commence investigation. Now, if you haven't commenced investigation, on what basis did you arrive at the conclusion you arrived at? On what basis? You have the same member of party who accused the cousin to the president, who accused them that they were taking 20,000, 30,000 before they allow people to see the president. Let someone tell me in this country that at least in the 4th Republican Constitution, we have had a government under which within 1 year, we have had series of serious allegations of corruption against operatives and against the government itself than this. Today, we are just being told.
Wrap up for me.
Today, we are just being told the same Flagstaff House, which was given a budget of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. The 4 years of President Mahama, the budget, the 4 years, did not amount to 600 million Ghana cedis. 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. A clandestine letter is written to the district assemblies to contribute 5,000 Ghana cedis to finance a trip that the president is going to embark in some selected districts in northern Ghana, in northern region. 5,000, and I'm saying today, they say northern region specifically, this one, which is amounting to about 120, 130,000 Ghana cedis. The same president came out and told us, the same president, that in the celebration of the Ghana at 60, they were not going to use state money. It is the corporate world. Now we're still demanding to know. We're still demanding to know how much has been contributed under the same president under his watch. And his cousin, who he likes praising, we went in for a dubious, fraudulent, and thievery bond.
I want us to stay on this one. I guess this is how you...
It all borders on corruption. It all borders on corruption that is at no place than the helm, the seat of our government.
Okay.
And that is why it is of tremendous concern, and it ought to be to everybody that you have the seat of the government.
Okay, let me go
seriously, accused. And it's becoming, it's no longer a joke, it's funny.
Okay. Dr. Mokwedu say, he thinks that the police releasing the full report of the investigation with A+, according to the police, A+ telling them that he did not accuse the two of corruption doesn't end this whole saga. What do you think?
Well, thank you very much, Bright, and good morning to our viewers. I think the position taken by Honorable Mutala is nothing but pedestrian propaganda.
I prefer Comrade Mutala.
Well, they pretend to come as socialists. Go to Zimbabwe and those areas, and that's the kind of title they use.
Start from Zimbabwe.
But I'm telling you, I'm not saying that that's where it started. That's where they try to propagate this notion that they are downtrodden. And they are with the people on the ground. But we know that they've been in government. We've tested them for 8 years. Notion which they use to run this country down. He's engaged in pedestrian propaganda because he started by saying the allegations didn't concern just Kolebu. But the truth is that the allegations made by A+ concern the issue of Kolebu. A+ never accused anyone about anything when he said that the two deputy chiefs of staff were involved in arrogance and they were corrupt, as he said it, and they were thieves. No, he was referring to the issue of Kolebu. What is that issue? There was an MOU between Kolebu and Unibank for them to help in the collection of revenues. And at some point, attempts were made to terminate this agreement. So when the issue got to the office of the president, they realized they had to intervene because that was the period in which the government was transitioning. If you sit there and then the contract is abrogated wrongly, you may end up incurring financial loss and also causing judgment debt to be given against you. So as responsible officers of the state, they intervened and said that, hold on, after all, Dr. Anyas is just an acting CEO. The board is not in place. Why don't we wait for the board to come before this issue is resolved? And then someone comes in to make an allegation that Unibank, which is a Ghanaian-owned bank.
Is this someone or a member of the
No, I'm talking of, A+ is a member of NPP.
Yes.
No one has denied that.
I think it's better to refer to him.
But he goes to Facebook to go and make these allegations without having the full impact of the interactions that went on. And he said that the people were corrupt. Then the matter is taken over by the police. What did he go there to say? It's clear. When he went there, he said that he confirmed that they never took any money. That's the first point. So that side of the allegation was actually denounced by himself. When that was over, then they said, okay, what about the corruption? Okay, I fear that they not allowing Kolebu to terminate this whole deal. They have actually involved themselves in the activities of the organization, therefore they were corrupt. I mean, the man today has not been coerced in any way. He's come to speak to the state-owned media, which is graphic, apologizing. The point I'm making is that we should take a cue from this. If you are a Ghanaian, don't begin to peddle falsehood, baseless allegations, and later on, after tarnishing the reputations of individuals, come out to say that you are apologizing. Unless Honorable Muntala is saying that he was coerced to apologize. Because no one took his Facebook account and then decided to write what he wrote again, for which Daily Graphic has now reported to confirm.
You think his apology should be taken just like that?
It should be taken. And also, Ghanaians will also learn the lesson that he's not a serious individual. The second bit also is the tape. I don't know whether Honorable Muntala has listened to the tape.
I did.
If you listen carefully, there's an aspect of the tape in which someone or the conversation indicates that they have not even spoken with the two officers, which is Honorable Asenso.
ACP Adodankwa said he's not spoken
to them. The latter part of the tape has indications that they have spoken to the two officers. This is a tape that has been pieced together. It's been pieced together at that point. So he should not take it on his face and not know about the full context.
So for you, the tape is doctored?
It's doctored. The police can decide to investigate.
They can and they can decide not.
You know, they have a lot of powers under the law to investigate.
What would you what would you advise?
I mean, the government's position is that institutions of the state must be allowed to work. That's our
So they should be allowed to work in what way in this situation?
That if someone commits a crime, that institution should be allowed to investigate, and we leave them to do their work. So that is left for the police to do.
We are about the next week into this tape. If the police fails to investigate again that the gentleman doctored the tape. Exactly.
When the man himself is now admitting that he is apologizing, all the things he's been spewing out are not true. If they decide to do it, that is for the police. The government will not inject anything in terms of politics into what the administration of the police is doing.
I mean, the government will not push the police to investigate if they said they would.
No, we want the police to do their work.
Okay.
The other bit also, he mentioned that there will be litany of allegations of corruption in the first 9 months or so. Where is he getting this from? When someone just propagates the idea that before you see the president, you have to pay money. No, it's not actually true. Honorable Muntala can go to the Flagstaff House, book an appointment, and see the president, and then
I don't have $20,000.
And then it will be shown that he wouldn't need to pay a peswa to see the president. You all go and see him as and when it's necessary. Of course, the man is a busy person. So if you are going there and they say that this is the line, the queue for you to follow, and then you think it's too long and therefore someone is putting impediments on your way, it means that you don't understand the seriousness of that office and the kind of meetings and policy decisions he has to take day in and day out. I'm telling you, the president gets to work early in the morning by 8:30. Do you know when he leaves office? Sometimes 11:30 p.m. he's still in the office because he's trained himself as a practitioner of the law to work till it's late. The young ones may even be tired and the old man is still working. So if you have not gotten the audience, don't go and peddle falsehood that you have to pay something to somebody to see the president.
In wrapping up, okay, quickly.
Yes, and the other bit also is that, I mean, he was in government when they had the issue of Brazil. He was in government when the head of SHRAD, after he had been removed through a judicial process, was brought to the office of the president to come and continue working. So those are matters that Ghanaians are aware of. For that reason,
because of that, are you suggesting
I'm not also justifying anything.
No,
I'm telling them that that's the reason why Ghanaians removed them.
No. Okay.
Ghanaians removed them.
What
so
is
when
the
they
point
change
here?
them, we will not actually tread the same path.
Okay.
We'll do things differently. But come to his final issue of letter in the northern region, I want to set the record straight that was someone who acted on the what I'll call on his own.
It's difficult.
He wrote, no, it's not
was
difficult.
not authorized to do.
Not at all, because you don't need the office of the president.
Write that letter.
You don't need to sit in a region and say that when the president is visiting your region, you are going to help the president to be able to conduct that. That's why there's a budget for that office, and we have come clearly to state that that is needed. It's needless, and for that reason, it has now been reversed.
Okay.
It has been reversed.
Has the officer been sanctioned?
Of course. I mean, when things of this nature happen, you have to take your time and know what actually prompted it to be.
What about the 10,000?
Okay. All right. Dr. Pokwede said,
we know where these things are coming from. Their officers are still in the helm of affairs. And then engage in leaking this information so that
which officers are
no, I mean they know that their appointees are the ones who are leaking allegations. Yes, They know.
But since
they know, they filled all the sensitive areas with their supporters, and then they keep on releasing this information so that they can embarrass
the 20,000 and 30,000 bribery. Can it become an
if indeed someone was not authorized, someone was not authorized,
it wasn't authorized,
and he did something, and an appointee leaks that information, isn't that good?
You know, it's not as if what he was doing was. At the president of the country, the area of this country, we want to help welcome him.
How?
The president is saying it's needless. That should settle the matter.
I'm grateful. Ricky, let me bring you in. You conceded two contrasting arguments. Where do you stand? The police has released the official report suggesting that this is what A+ told them. So, do we end it here?
Thank you very much. Now I see why I was asked to sit in the middle.
It was still not fight.
You will not fight, I know.
First of all, let's get something very clear. That they did not receive money does not absolve them of corruption. We cannot arrest corruption and restrict it to receiving and taking money. We have also conveniently forgotten that in this whole discussion, there was an allegation that Unibank may have bankrolled the MPP in their campaign. So that if there is a certain intervention to draw the attention of Kolebu to act properly, what was the motivation behind the acting properly? There are two possibilities. One, pure rule of law. Do not abrogate something without giving them the chance to negotiate. Take due cognizance of the fact that they are an indigenous company. That can be one interpretation. Another can be that, my brother, it's time to pay up. And we cannot...
Or pay back, that's what you want to say.
Pay up.
Pay up.
I want to say pay up.
Okay.
It's a deal, sort of. Sometimes deals do not have to be written down. So, for me, we need to understand that the absence of money does not mean the absence of corruption. Secondly, there's a very uncomfortable Dagomba proverb. Very, very uncomfortable. I'll try to translate it. It says, when you make your son a chief and among the Akans, then you will one day have to carry him in a palanquin. Yeah. You see, every party has the tendency to nurture some unruly behavior among their rank and file. People assume a certain importance. And then all of a sudden, they become an encumbrance on the party. I would have expected A+. He has internal party structures. Listen, do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that he should not have come out to make this allegation, if indeed he thought it was. But we shouldn't see Party A as being enemy to Party B. I am not talking for a party, I'm talking for this country. People must have respect for the, if I may call it, the institutional regulations in which they find themselves. As for the police report, I am going to say without fear or favor that nobody puts any credit to it. The deputy director of the CID, doctored or not, is on record to have categorically said, these are your people. Let's see what we can do about it, or intimated. This is the same woman who said, when I went to Kolebu, what I saw, it made me sick. And when I told my boss was even feeling worse than me. Is she telling me that she did not make those statements?
She said the words were picked and put together to sound like...
Yes. You see, and I don't know why we are running around in circles. Even me, I have no rank anywhere. If you ever record me and you have the effrontery to release something that is not me, my brother, I'll rain brimstone and fire on you. My reputation is about the only thing I hold terribly jealously.
So you think the police should do that?
I'm not saying that if they want anybody to believe that it is indeed doctored, they know what to do. The truth of the matter is that when one is in position, you will have to tread cautiously. This petition comes to the office. It is generally his job to handle these petitions. He tries to talk to Dr. Anya. Apparently, the man is not very available. He then talks to the sector minister. The sector minister says they will handle it. And he goes on to relax until he hears these allegations. I want to tell both gentlemen that rather than be too affected by this, they should realize that where they are is a very sensitive position. Next time, if they have to intervene in the interest of proper corporate governance, then they should do so explicitly. Look, we can sit down here and wish away the things that are happening. But with all respect, Kennedy Agyapong is a firebrand. That's what you, the journalists, have called him. When the toad comes out, or the frog comes out of the water and says the crocodile is dead, who am I to be on the bank and say it is not true? However, it is not going to help this country when we go trading accusations left, right, and center. As for this affiliated or ancillary matter of a letter having been written soliciting funds for the president's visit to northern Ghana, my position is this. There are some people who are terribly should I say, motivated. They probably have budgeted to buy him a smoke. Probably they have budgeted to do A, B, C, or D. It is entirely possible that this letter was written at the blind side of Flagstaff House. It's very possible. I have worked in relation to some of these local government apparatus, and some people can take initiative. So it is not, it's not in to say that this was written with the permission. Please, let's credit the Flagstaff House with some ingenuity. If even they wanted money, if they want to spend more money there, they don't need to get it through a levy of district assemblies. That said, if that decision was taken and it is against the local government regulations, people must be sanctioned. Finally, I'm going to ask my good friends, the journalists. We are making certain people unwieldy in this country. A+ has held this country to ransom for 2 weeks. But I'm sure my brother to my right will say, if there was no reason, A+ would not have come out. The truth of the matter is, this country is faced with huge challenges. MPP should get their act together in their party. They cannot expect Ghanaians to listen to Kennedy Agyapong and rubbish it. We cannot rubbish it. Kennedy is a member of parliament. I think he's on his 3rd or 4th term. That is a serious politician. He's an institution in this country, whether we like it or not. That a person like that comes out with such allegations, we will need to take them seriously. Until something credible, you cannot attempt to whitewash these things. And all of a sudden, A+ is or may not or appears to be or apparently is the special assistant to the acting chief executive. Since when did we create such portfolios and for them to mingle in people's business?
Ricky, I'm grateful.
Can I make this?
Yes, briefly. We're wrapping up.
You see, it tells you how intolerant the NPP can be to opposition.
How?
The NDC has managed with Martin Amidu for over 5 years. They hailed him, they praised him, they considered him as the most outstanding whistleblower ever. And almost all the allegations he made, He could not, and he never prepared to sit down and debate with the very people for whom those allegations were made. Today, A+ is just less than a year. Some of them are even saying that he should be sacked. But by the way, he's talking about the fact that NDC people are those who are leaking. I don't expect that to come from you. On a more serious note, why? NDC people are those who leak. Since when has Kennedy Japan become an NDC person?
Well, is he the one who leaked the letter?
Okay.
Was he not the one who...
No,
Hold on. Can I finish?
I
I'm talking about the allegations that have been made about corruption.
My brother, even,
I'm saying that
even if they are being leaked, are they lies?
That's a question I put to him, that even if they were NDC people who are leaking...
He's saying that I'm not confusing it. I'm saying that there have been series of allegations against the Flagstaff House. Except that you are telling me the 2 deputy chiefs of staffs are not working there. And when people question the integrity of the number 2 people who work under the office of the president, at least they work under the chief of staff as his deputies. When people question their integrity, by extension, they are questioning the integrity of the seat of government.
But who are the people who are questioning their integrity?
Please. This gentleman made those allegations. This gentleman
made the baseless allegations.
I thought we were going to...
I'm saying that why not? The point we are making is, and that is why I agree with the point he made. Whether indeed he came out and denied or not, it ought to be investigated thoroughly. Now you sit here and you are telling us that people are making wild allegations without any evidence. You won the elections on the wings of wild allegations.
No.
For which the president that people make you to them, and you realize that there's not any basis. Yet he was the chairman of the Vanguard. That came with those wild allegations. You said here the former was asked to work at the Flagstaff House. Which policies? By lying to the people of this country, you went in for 2.25 billion as we sit today.
I have wrapped up on this one.
Hold on,
Yes,
150 million.
Gentlemen, that's okay.
Which you promised me, and now that we are delivering.
Are you delivering what? Do you know the mess you are causing?
We are moving on, gentlemen.
Do you know the mess?
Let us move on. Let us move on to this one. I guess I have wrapped up on this one.
You're going for loan to pay salaries of September. You say you are delivering.
Quickly. So let's wrap up on this one. Now, from where we are, from where we are, where do we go? Should we just leave it at that? That this is the end of it, and move on with our lives?
Well, what I'm saying is that the proponent of those baseless allegations is now apologizing.
Okay.
He has told the police, and he has said it publicly, that he never said he took any money. The only aspect which was left was that they involved themselves in the contract issue involving Unibank and Kolebu.
All right.
And that has been found out to be baseless. Okay. In any case, what those people were doing were official acts in which they wanted to save the state from coming into a mess and eventually incurring judgment debts.
Okay, so Ricky's assertion that we should not look at corruption as simply taking money. You think we should?
No, I mean, no, we should not be ignored. I appreciate what he said, but the point I'm making is that even in the overall understanding of corruption, what Honorable Jinapo and then Asenso did doesn't amount to any form of corruption whatsoever.
I'm grateful.
They were rather helping with the system so that there's no issue later on for the state to suffer.
Okay, Ricky, wrapping up.
Let me just clarify.
What do we do?
Yesterday, I happened to listen to some very respectable opinion holders in this country. And there was a key thing that came out, which they called influence peddling. And influence peddling is carrying oneself or one's position in such a way that it will affect a decision. Essentially, that is an act that should not be encouraged, especially if Unibank contributed to the MPP campaign. And I'm not saying that it's a crime.
That has not been proven in this. I don't know if Unibank was.
We have maintained there were people in
MPP
finance.
That's what you are saying now. So you mean that your own people didn't believe in what you were doing in government?
It's a possibility.
Your people didn't trust what you were doing. You were doing the wrong things in government.
It's a possibility.
For that reason, they rose up against you.
Haven't you accused people in MPP that they are doing the bid?
Gentlemen, you are being terribly unfair.
Does that mean that
they don't like it?
Right.
Okay, all right. Wrap up for let me go.
Can you remind these gentlemen that I'm the oldest among the three of us?
Okay, I think they have heard.
I don't know whether he has produced his death certificate.
I know you from university, so I know.
All right, sure.
So the truth of the matter is this, that and a perfunctory apology does not do it. My worry is who is coming in to investigate. Shraj. MPP has a problem with the Shraj director in any case. Because, as is evident from his statement, he is an NDC appointee.
No, that's not what I said.
As is evident. Listen to my words.
That's not what
Listen to my words.
No, don't extend it. When I was talking about this letter.
When you said that the former
Dr. Bokode said, if you have anything, I'll get you to react. But please allow Ricky to wrap up.
But there's a kind of information which is not supported, which will be allowed to be put out there.
All I'm saying is that he is calling for an investigation. I saw somewhere in the papers, Shraj says they are going to come in.
A group has actually
has called. And I am saying that. I get the impression from Dr. Poku's...
It's all an impression.
Yes.
Great.
That there is a certain skepticism with the professionalism of NDC appointees. That's why he says that they are the ones that are leaking. I am now worried that the Shraj director, commissioner, who is an NDC appointee, let's just, for the purpose of discussion, turns out, and believe me, he may not be the one who's actually going to do the real investigation, but the organization comes out with something that indicts those two gentlemen. Will it be taken? That's the question I want to ask.
You're right, the question. I'm grateful.
He's the deputy director for standard authority. Is he supposed to engage in politics?
If you want to take it on
okay.
court.
All right, let me clarify it for you.
Now you sit there.
Let me respond.
No, you pedophile. He said that the former Shraj director was asked to work at...
Yes, was brought to the flags. It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
It's an absolute lie.
I'm grateful.
You're not supposed to.
Heritage is talking about
a lot of people.
the NCA. DJ and Giba is wrapping
sports minister was brought to the
5,000 journalists, others to lose
scandal.
jobs over NCA. The minority is suggesting that the recent National Communications Authority decision to sanction 131 radio stations will have dire consequences. They've already talked about 5,000 journalists to be affected. These radio stations, some of them owe 50 million, 60 million and plus. Now, the ranking member for Communications Committee of Parliament said the sanctions would lead to close of 5,000 workers losing their jobs, and the minority says it is troubled by this. Ricky,
yes,
what do you make of this? The GGA and the independent broadcasters are also suggesting that these sanctions are harsh, and they think that NCA is just being too hard on these stations.
This issue has to be taken very, very carefully. First of all, there's a case of organizations that owe the NCA. Then there's a responsibility of NCA to collect their money. So nobody is entirely free in this matter. GJA and GIBA are acting late in the day. I have friends who work and some who even own radio stations. Some of them have started discussions or brought up these discussions in GIBA, Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, saying first of all that the regime, the licensing regime was not realistic. One of their statements being that some of them are in an area where their revenue is not comparable to Kumasi, Takoradi, Cape Coast, and Accra. Some of them too are in competition with community radio stations in the same catchment area, who as a general rule charge radically less than the commercial operators. Essentially, there is a lot that is required to be done in the licensing regime, which will reflect in the amounts of money that is due. The reportage says 10 years, some say 15 years. Some of these things have not been paid. Legalistically speaking, the NCA is right. You owe. Some of them, a good majority of them, have been given notice of or information or reminders about these debts, and they have not been able to live up to their obligation. So where do we go from here? I don't like the twist that the minority has put on it, 5,000 to lose jobs.
Maybe more.
You see, for me, this is not the matter.
What is the matter?
The matter is JIBA, GJA, go and appeal to the NCA. Please, let's sit down. The need for an independent broadcast system, it cannot be discussed today. It's a given. If you are to proceed with these measures, this is what is going to happen. You see, I don't like when national policy issues are put in the media for pedestrian discussions. We have the National Communications Authority, manned by people who are capable of handling this. JIBA is not run by children. It's run by accomplished broadcasters and business folk. Ghana Journalists Association, similarly the case. Go and handle this matter. When we put you in positions, we do not want you to bring back the matters for us to discuss.
Handle the matter.
That's all.
Okay. Dr. Bukwe, they say, let me pick your thought on this.
Well, you know, under the law, for every 5 years, you are supposed to renew your license. If you fail, there is a default clause or a penalty that will be imposed on you for failing to renew your license. From the evidence, we know that a lot of the stations have not been able to renew their licenses, and they've been operating all these years. How those, that was allowed to continue is mind-boggling. Now, NCA decides to put its foot on the ground. The most important thing they did was to hear these bodies, give them an opportunity for them to be heard. And that is very significant. So they heard them, indeed, from the release, which is about a 30-page release. They said that some of the stations even failed to respond to their invitations. They didn't respond, about 21 of them. And therefore, those persons had purported in their hearts that they were going to be consistent violators, and they've imposed sanctions accordingly. The second bit also is that the laws as we have them now were enacted by Parliament. The fines of 10,000 Ghana cedi a day for violation was passed by Parliament, because you can't impose any levy or fee without taking it through Parliament. Those are the laws we have. We should, at this point, not allow for this issue to degenerate into NPP, NDC affair at all. It is a matter of rule of law. People have been in violation of the law. The sanctions have been applied in accordance with the law. So be it. But now that it's been done, I believe that the door is still not closed to those who are affected.
For dialogue.
For dialogue.
Okay.
I mean, you can owe someone and then find a way to beat your liability down.
You won't fault the NCA for not perhaps allowing them to dialogue first?
No, I think dialogue is allowed because we want press freedom to be promoted.
But some have been closed down.
Well, because those who have had their licenses closed down, that's why I said they are in different categories. One, there are about 21 of them who said, damn you, we will not respond to you. Okay. I mean, that kind of approach is not actually countenanced by the law. Okay. And since they are powerful to have control over the airwaves, they can then take that decision. In the same way, I mean, when you take how some of the FM stations operate, I've worked with GIBA in terms of doing cases for GAMRO, which is Ghana Music Rights Organization. I mean, they play music in an unbridled fashion. You go to them for them to pay royalties. It's a challenge.
Okay. So, all right. Kind of comment. I'll get you the chance to react, but let's take some.
Frederick, with respect to Kolebu A+ Unibank saga, please leave the deputy CID boss alone. She clearly has a conscience and she's not a liar. So she could not hold back the truth. Political pressure was put on her. People should stop pronouncing doom on for her. Her God will see her through as he has seen her through the years. Politicians are intimidating the police service. This is obvious. That's why they don't act professionally. And please look for Bukum Banku and Langabel to wish TV3 a happy birthday. Interesting. Please, TV3, tell the government to pay rotation nurses, interns, allowance. They stopped giving us empty pay slip after working for 6 months. Happy 20th anniversary, Avo in Tamale. The CID investigation report on the alleged corruption involving the 2 deputy chiefs of staff is a complete cover-up of crime at the presidency. Baba Intema instigates. Good morning. Can Mutala prove those allegations he's talking about? Happy 20th anniversary to TV3. Good morning, Senior Bright, Johnny and Amma. Is a hallmark of the party in power, MPP, to corrupt civil servants and heads of institutions so they can do the cover-up for themselves whenever they perpetrate their corrupt deeds. Where is Mr. President? Is your own in your own internal residence and you're mute? Ghanaians are surprised and disappointed. Really, JM, come back and save Mother Ghana. Osman Brigason in Tamale. And happy 20th anniversary to TV3. Best in news, best in entertainment. On the issue of the bedridden corruption under a 9-month-old NPP government, I think Comrade Mutala has said it all. The level of naked corruption being exhibited in this Akufo-Addo government is out of hand now, and only God can rescue us. Baba Musa, please let us all be fair and stop being sarcastic about the matter. Akime, indeed, a fish starts rotting from the head. The corruption and Dananado has started right from the Flagstaff House. One district, 5,000 cedis. After the Flagstaff House has been allocated the biggest money ever for this year since the Fourth Republic. We can't wait to vote out this corrupt party and JJ CFR platform. And good morning to you and your panelists. I learned the Chief of Staff of Office was copied, not written to. When you are copied, it means you just be aware, but not to act. A letter written to Vice President Office and copied the rest. Why should the rest be acting whilst those written to are mute? Sense rot. Interesting, he says so that the Chief of Staff were just copied. They were not written to, and so they should not be acting. I don't know. It's up to you.
All right. Okay, comment. Wrap up on the NCA sanctions.
Well, I agree with all the explanations that I am shocked that you have a person like Nana Kukusichadu, who is at the helm of the place, and some of these things are happening because he is a trained journalist, and in fact he has been a media practitioner for a very long time. Somebody I have so much respect and admiration for. And I was thinking that at least he could have understood that, yes, we have a challenge. We want to stamp our authority. But that notwithstanding,
we want to ensure the law.
Yes, we must not do something that would stifle press freedom. Now, if you tell me it's legal, the PDA was legal. The preventive distance, it was legal. And Nkrumah never did anything out of. There are certain decisions that are morally unjustified, but legally right. They are legally right. And I'm not for a moment saying that we should not implement the laws. But the laws itself, indeed, were created by man. And it is understandable that...
I'm coming. Comrade.
Oh, of course. And it is understandable. Things you take into consideration. I mean, how much do media houses make? In fact, in Accra, there are few media houses that can tell you that they make a lot. By the way, there isn't a single media house in this country that has not violated the standard of operation by the NCA. Almost every single media house. I'll give an example. You have radio stations, and I don't want to mention names, that are registered and are supposed to operate in Accra. You go to Suhum, you can still tune and listen to them. Yeah. You go to Eburi. In fact, some of them as far as getting closer to Kumasi. You know those radio stations. Everybody knows them. And this is a clear violation of what they are supposed to be doing in their operation.
As a matter of fact, they're supposed to even record all their programs. I don't think there's any.
So I'm saying that, look, so if you look at the radio stations that are targeted, frankly speaking, it's worrying. And some of them, they claim that they wrote to them and they never responded. It's been disputed. Some of them have said, we responded. Now, if you write to me and inform me that, look, you did ABCD, for which reason, I want to hear your side of the story. And listening to you, I will then take a decision. Now, I called you, you came and then you explained and even demanded that, okay, give us time to see how best we can. Then I say, no, haven't given you the opportunity to tell me your side of the story. That is suggestive that I was being fair. I listen to you, but I don't give a damn about what you say. I'm still going to take the decision I want to take. And for me, that is extremely worrying. So it is not only the NDC that is making this call. Remember, Aside even the direct employees of those radio stations who are going to be affected, print media. There are media houses that these radio stations used to buy their papers that are also going to be affected. Those boys who used to distribute them are also going to be affected. So for me, by extension, it will be in several folds of the figure that is provided. Now, let us also not look at it within the lenses of the NDC has indeed made that call and held a press conference. The point is that there must be people who would speak to this. And at any point in time, people would express those concerns. So we all agree that, yes, the NCA needs to banks. There are various institutions who are operating who are not supposed to be operating. Because at any point in time, actions or inactions of those private entities would violate or sometimes disregard certain, if you like, rules and regulations governing what they are supposed to do. And we need to look at those things.
All right. I am grateful. Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed is a former trade minister and former member of parliament for the Nanton constituency, a member of the NDC. Kasisi Riki Pepra is the founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Network, and Dr. Pokwe Dusei is the Deputy Director General.
Do you know how much they spent in designing the plagiarized FSHS logo? 200,000 Ghana.
Our Ghana Standards Authority. Gentlemen, I am grateful. I am grateful for your time.
You have to pay
Thanks so much for joining me. Those of you who sent in your comments, I'm also grateful for sending those comments. Let's quickly watch this. Now, a hand that does not work must not eat. So says the Bible. The Bible also commands us to pray without ceasing. But how do the two complement each other when one spends his or her entire day praying in the church? Portia has put this together.